Hello and welcome to Street Aesthete. This is the show where we explore street view coverage of noteworthy locations, keeping an eye out for beautiful architecture and stunning scenery, while I amuse myself by remarking on what we see. You rejoin me in the Portuguese town of Aveiro. So far we have walked in, virtually, from the south of the town, and we've just, I think, started as we reach the canal here to penetrate what is perhaps the historic core of the town. So, with this as a little teaser for what I hope is yet to come, let's proceed. In which direction? Well, I think we better go and take a look, perhaps, over to the west, following the course of the canal if we can. Maybe not. The sea is just over here, the Atlantic Ocean, and we seem to have come to a rather large building site, so this perhaps isn't where we're going to continue, but it has indeed been worth it to come over here for this. Now this certainly is ornate, isn't it? We seem to have a kind of a chain manacle part motif here. A hitching post. Perhaps this was at some point a stable. I mean, surely I'm just making it up here, but trying to interpret what we're seeing here. The eagle motif. I assume it is an eagle. There it is on top. And isn't that really nice? Just a little bit of colour on the iron railing here to distinguish it. But I think mainly what is attractive about this building is the kind of the rhyme of the curvature that we see on the first floor here, and then on the ground floor, and then the upper floor here. Just something about the way the pattern is repeated in variation. Really, really lovely building. Okay, a bit of an alley here. I wonder if this is worth pursuing. Perhaps not. I don't know if we'll get any coverage down there. Ooh, we almost went straight past this. Something a little bit plain and less ornamented certainly than what we have over here, but nonetheless, to have a row of these is distinguished in its own right, especially with the nice colour variation here, the yellow, pink, then this sort of this more glossy sandy colour, and then something clearly more modern, although I suspect that this is perhaps an older building that has been reskinned, if you like, with this more kind of, I don't know, sort of almost like a digital design. There's something a bit like pixel art about this, isn't there? On the whole, my preference would certainly be for the more traditional blue and white tiling, but if for whatever reason that had to be replaced during the renovation of this building, I think this is an adequate substitute. Okay, just glancing at the map here, we've got two options, I suppose. We can sort of head over into this area and see if we can find the Ponte dos Laços de Amizade, or we can head off in this direction. I think really I'm drawn this way, and we may end up going in that direction eventually. So let's head in. Starting to enter the more pedestrianised part of the city, perhaps. Really lovely dark blue tile here, contrasting well with the lighter blue. In fact, it's brickwork. Lovely magnolia tree, is that magnolia? Oh boy. Someone call the city council, because that is not good. There's a bit of exposed brickwork there. We can see what's underneath. Well, in fact, this building looks to be perhaps derelict. Yeah, I've got a picture of a window rather than an actual window. Yeah. Well, at least they've made the effort to cover up the fact that it's in a poor state of repair. This, I would say, is quite typical of what you see in some of the neighbourhoods in places like Porto and Lisbon, which I have visited fairly recently. I think the problem they have is that although clearly the ground floor is occupied by this shop, the upper floor, as we can see from the broken windows, is not occupied, and the owner is somewhere abroad where they can't be reached easily by the council. And so, because they can't get in touch to tell them to sort out their property, there's no mechanism for the Portuguese state to repossess the building and beautify it, so it just sits there in this sorry state. It's a pity. But, in a sense, I wouldn't want any government to be able to repossess property at will. So it's a trade-off, it's a trade-off between the aesthetic beauty of a place and the freedom of the people who live there. It's a tricky one. But this is the Street Aesthete channel, not the Philosophy channel. So we shall leave that one there as we continue to admire this lovely plaza. Fantastic for a sunny day, to drink a coffee, eat a pastel de nata perhaps, the ubiquitous Portuguese pastry. Really beautiful scene, truly lovely. I always find it exciting in pedestrianised areas where you have alleyways going off in all directions, and you're not quite sure which way to go. Each different direction of travel has its own unique draw, its own unique appeal. Struggling a bit to push on here in the coverage. There's a bit of a gap here. It looks as though, yes, we can press forward into the next part of our journey. And we'll just take a moment to step back and admire this, what we've just come from. And let's approach another church. Scenes from the Gospel, I should think. And which way? Down towards the sea over here. Yeah, we're sort of a little bit on the outskirts here. We may be starting to get into residential areas if we proceed in this direction, so perhaps let's take this route. More of the lovely tile work. It's funny, isn't it, how the shapes that we see here wouldn't be out of place on a Dutch street, but how the colours and the building material just completely alter the way it looks and feels. Of course, we'd be seeing red brick, or perhaps a kind of a dark brick if we were in the lowlands. But here we've got brighter colours and lighter colours. These light blues, pinks, sandy colours, creamy colours. And we may be approaching something of a seafront here, a beach. looks like it. Ah, the canal. So in fact, where is the sea from here? No, the sea is a little bit further along. This rather looks like the edge of the town, doesn't it? There might not be much more to see over here. Although there is a rather lovely looking bridge, which we might get a closer look at. Here we go. We've got the shield with the dots on it, which we see on the Portuguese flag. I'm not entirely sure what it signifies. And a lovely yellow background with a blue floral motif. Very pretty little bridge, isn't it? And just a bridge to a car park. Why ever not? This is an interesting one, isn't it? There's something that reminds me of the kind of Western United States frontier towns about this. It's funny how it's sort of got this very stylized shape of what from a distance might sort of look like a lot of classical ornamentation, but when you come up close is something a lot more sort of geometric. But then it's all kind of squared off on top. Interesting, different. Very inviting, this bridge, isn't it? Just a lovely sweep, a lovely curvature to it. Okay, well, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to pop out of the coverage here, because I'm feeling as though there's more of the town that we shouldn't miss. So we had just popped out somewhere along here. I think there's our bridge. Is it going to be worth just dropping in here somewhere, in this little spot? Mainly kind of residential back streets. See if there's just a quick glance to see if there's anything distinguishing it. Maybe not. Not that it isn't beautiful in its own way, but I wonder what else we can find here. We'll just take a look at this square here. The treble clef, the quaver, some kind of musical monument. This is quite lovely, isn't it? Especially on a sunny day like this. Was that the same bridge we were looking at earlier? No, it's certainly not. Yeah, really nice to be kind of surrounded by the different shapes of the buildings here. A lot of variety in shape of the facade, but also in elevation of the buildings. I'm by no means claiming that this is the most beautiful square in Europe, but, you know, for a small town, and what is perhaps a relatively recent development, I would say, judging by the rather uninspired design of the seating and bins here, it's not too bad. Okay, well, what I have been wondering about is this section here, down by the canal. Doesn't look as though we've got any continuous coverage, but perhaps we'll see something good in the photospheres. Perhaps we can get a bit closer to this marked bridge. Okay, we're on it. So yeah, a few of these bridges. And interestingly, sort of classical viaduct column style construction here, next to what is obviously a newer development. This looks like it might be part of the same development. Probably some sort of supermarket, I would say, a shopping centre rather. Okay. Well, and with that, I believe we've returned to the church we saw earlier. So we've not exactly come full circle because we moved around rather artificially. But I feel as though I've got a reasonably good grasp on the geography of the town of Aveiro. And I've got a good idea of where I would like to go if I visited it. Mainly this plaza just here, I think. So with that in mind, I think we'll just pop back out to the main road and take a look at some of the more distinguished buildings out by the canal side here. This looks like where you would go if you were wanting to hire one of these, or to go on a guided tour perhaps down the canal. And why don't we conclude our journey by just taking a look at the facades over here, which look rather interesting. There may be a little bit more to see than I anticipated. All relatively modern, lining this street, I would say. Oh, the Banco de Portugal. Very handsome facade indeed. And then let's just take a few steps down this street to see if there's anything worth pursuing. No, it's all looking relatively modern here, but I think we'll perhaps end looking at this row. It's very beautiful, isn't it? Very distinguished row of buildings. The lovely white stonework here, the curvature of the balcony facade, then the pink here. And then I think probably my favourite, perhaps, the one that really caught my eye from a distance, is this dark green against the white, and then the brown of the wood in the window fixtures. That's lovely. Well, thank you for joining me on the second part of this exploration of Aveiro in Portugal. If you've been enjoying the music that you hear in this video and all of my videos, you should go and take a look at my first channel where I upload all of my original music. Stay tuned for more street view exploration videos.